The most important thing is to know that the mining companies or government will lie to your face. They will only supply minimum amount of information. They will avoid, as I said, mentioning some of the more drastic impacts. So, and you need to know that mining will divide your community. That's the first thing. People say contamination. Well, people get contaminated before water gets contaminated. They get contaminated by these false promises that the mining company purposely will introduce into a community to get people on their side. Knowing that they're lies, it doesn't matter. So you need to know that that's what they will do, and you need to find out how to combat that by being aware.
Welcome to the Mongabay Newscast. I'm your co-host, Mike DiGirolamo. Bringing you weekly conversations with experts, authors, scientists, and activists working on the front lines of conservation, shining a light on some of the most pressing issues facing our planet, and holding people in power to account. This podcast is edited on Gadigal land. Today on the newscast, we speak with Carlos Zorrilla, co-founder of the civil society group DECOIN. Zorrilla has been organizing and helping his community fight against open-pit copper mining in the Intag Valley of Ecuador for nearly 30 years, often considered the longest continual opposition to a mining project. In a high-profile legal battle in 2023, an Ecuadorian court ruled that the Chilean mining company Codelco and the Ecuadorian National Mining Company violated the community right to consultation and the Intag Valley's rights of nature. Mongabay staff writer Liz Kimbrough wrote the original story on Mongabay, along with a documentary video by producer Romy Casanino. In this conversation, Zorrilla talks to me about how his community's grassroots campaign succeeded in helping convince the court, what role rights of nature laws played in the decision, and what threats remain to the Intag Valley, one of the most biodiverse regions in the world. In the Yurimaguas mining concession, Zorrilla tells me fauna not seen in over a decade have finally resurfaced, and what other vulnerable species remain. His 30 years of organizing have yielded him so much knowledge that he documented it in a manual for activists on how to fight mining projects. He tells me the most important lessons to know when defending your community from these interests, what risks you can face, and how to press on when challenges mount. Carlos, welcome to the Mongabay Newscast. It's great to have you with us.
Thank you very much.
So just to recap briefly for our listeners, you and DECOIN have helped lead a grassroots campaign and a legal case in the Intag Valley in Ecuador, challenging copper mining permits given to two companies that are responsible for the Yurimaguas mining project. An Ecuadorian court ruled these mining permits violated communities' rights to consultation and the Intag Valley's rights of nature. So this was like a very huge victory for one of the world's most biodiverse hotspots and the communities who have been resisting it for 30 years. So can you talk to me about why the grassroots campaign has been so successful?
Yeah, that really requires a book, which I hope to one day produce. But in summary, it's one of the exceptions because once communities confront a mining company, they're not just confronting a mining company. They're confronting everything that's behind a mining company. The government, World Bank loans, export-import bank loans, all kinds of regulations that favor mining. So it's very rare for communities to hold out so long. What has worked here, I think, has been from the beginning, we realized that we needed to inform people about the real impacts of mining. Because as most people involved in these kind of situations, mining companies and the government sell the idea that mining is beneficial for communities and the government and the country, and that's not true. especially that's not true in such biodiverse areas as Intag. So we spent a lot of time going from community to community, from house to house, talking to people with hard information to just open their eyes about the real impacts of what it means to have a large-scale mining project in your community, the real impacts, which could be violence, relocation of whole communities, contamination, a lot of social conflicts, tremendous amount of social conflicts. So people learn, enough people got that message. We also are lucky to get a hold of the only environmental impact study in Ecuador, not paid by the mining companies. And that gave us an idea of what some of the real impacts would be. So people were shocked. Enough people were shocked, and so we helped them organize. We were the first environmental organization in Intag, not only opposing mining, but in general. So we were able to get enough funds to move people around and educate them. But education is key. And then we started buying land and gave them to the communities to protect their watersheds. You see, so that was also key, that people were protecting watersheds that the mining companies could contaminate. And then we helped in the case of Junín, we helped them establish an ecotourism project. And the forest that they were using sits above the ore body, the copper ore body. So there was a lot of factors involved, but those were the main ones. Enough people got the message, and they were able to organize. And now we were the first organization. Now there's about 10 to 12 organizations. Not all of them environmental, but they're all have the same vision of development. It has to be good for the people and not just for the economy. It has to be good for the environment. Enough people get that message, luckily.
Hey, and thanks for tuning in to listen to the first few minutes of this interview. There's a lot more to it. So if you want to hear the full conversation, find the Mongabay newscast wherever you get your podcasts from and click subscribe. You can also get each new episode straight to your inbox by subscribing to Mongabay's weekly newsletter at mongabay.com. If you really want to help support us, you can also donate to us at patreon.com/Mongabay. Don't forget to leave a review, and thank you as always for listening.